Hi, I'm Ernest Lewis and I'm the host of this ST Sports podcast special. I'm here at Farrer Park, which is being slated for redevelopment. It was in the news recently and it caused quite a ruffle in the sports fraternity as well as the wider population. It's one of those traditional historic places in Singapore sports. It has a soul that is very hard to find elsewhere, especially in our young nation. And I'm with Mr. Ang Peng Siong. He runs the APS Swim School over here at the Farrer Park swimming pool, swimming legend. And we've got two new swimming legends as well with us, modern day legends, Ang Peng Siong and Theresa Go. So welcome, folks.
Hello. Hello.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, how does it feel to be recording this podcast here as in your sort of like your second home, right? You were saying. So Peng Siong, tell me, what's your favorite memory of this place?
I've been training here for the last 14 years. I was training for Beijing and London here, and most of my teenage life was just spent in the pool. If I was not in school, if I was not at home, I would be at Farrer Park. But maybe not all the time swimming. Some of the time I'm taking naps before training. But it's a big part of my swimming career and a big part of my growing up. So.
And Theresa, what about you? I mean, what's your favorite memory from Farrer Park?
I have a lot of favorite memories of Farrer Park. I think, like Peng Siong, it is my second home basically. I've trained here more than anywhere else in my life. Yep. And I've been training here also since we moved here to 2004.
In 2004.
It was, I guess, the start of the rest of the things to come.
I remember being very excited coming into this new place. The facilities were like, we didn't really have a gym before. It was all Vasa trainers. Yeah, but it was just the whole team coming together. I remember having like some sit-up competition in the past.
I mean, everything feels more grounded, and you don't feel like everything's just unattainable. You feel like everything is within your reach. You have you work hard, you have fun, and it really feels like a family here.
So it's a place where you don't feel like, it doesn't look like your typical idea of a modern sports excellence center, but there's something about it that is different, right?
It has heart, and I think in a lot of cases that is more important than looking good or and I mean it's always gonna be that one place where I'm gonna come back to and feel like immediately feel at home.
Oh no, you're making me feel so sad. I think it's finally sinking in.
Is it not sinking in when you're talking about it?
It wasn't sinking in yet. I was like, there's still hope, but now it's sinking in.
No, I mean, it's just like, it really feels like sinking in. Bruh.
Oh no. What have we done, Peng Siong?
Oh dear.
What can we do? How about you? I mean, your best memory of the old days. I mean, your dad,
I'm already 56, so this is like home since birth. Since we've been running the place, we've seen this place as a watering hole for many of the sports coming back. We took over the place. It was actually quite quiet. And then you start seeing people coming back to the tennis courts. You see people playing frisbees, and now you have foreign workers playing cricket. You have your rugby players, your soccer players coming back.
Because one of the comments on the Straits Times Facebook page, they bemoan the potential loss of Farrer Park because each city has its green lungs.
Yes.
In the center, city center.
Yeah. And like it's also very like it's kind of a space away from the city. Like whenever we go, or sometimes I take like a transport here, and the driver will be like, "Oh, what? There's something here." It's like it's just so it's a quiet space away from the noisy like city life, and and I feel like it'll be a huge loss, lah.
Okay, talk about numbers.
Yep.
The value of the land that this is on.
What's been reported, it says there's a possibility because the value it is $2 billion. And if you look at the long history of Farrer Park, would that $2 billion cover and recreate a sporting culture that we already have? And do we really need to take everything off Farrer Park to redevelop?
Yeah.
You know, if we can keep some part of Farrer Park and to retain its sporting heritage. In fact, in Singapore, we are conserving buildings.
Yes.
And that's for future generation to really appreciate the architectural value of the place. But in sports, where's our history? You know, yes, we do have a sports museum at the new National Stadium, but again, Farrer Park itself has its own history, and how do we salvage that? Can we share that sporting history with the future generation of Singaporeans and inspiring the future generation of Singaporeans?
What about your place here? How many students, how many people do you have on an average month, a year?
If you look at it, it's like a watering hole thing. You get about 1,000 over students coming through this facility, learning a survival skill. You have a program for diving, learn to play diving, which is very rare in Singapore, and then synchronized swimming also, which is very rare in Singapore. And Farrer Park has the depth to allow these two sports to survive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your traditional pool will be too shallow, and we cannot have that kind of program. So you're looking at 1,000 over students a month just to learn the skills. And I think that the numbers can grow to 3,000 for the swimming pool itself.
So you're not only concentrating on a community aspect. You've also, in the past decade, as you've proven with Theresa and Peng Siong, you've had that sporting excellence aspect to it also over here.
I think that is something about Farrer Park that has that ability to inspire that level of excellence in sports for the passion of it.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at Fandi, myself, and many of the former athletes, we didn't have any form of support. But for the love of the sport, we did it and we excelled. And likewise with Peng Siong and Theresa, they've excelled and they have made a difference to the disabled community. Now we have a bigger awareness about accessibilities on public transport and, and buildings. So history in the making through, again, the spirit of Farrer Park. And I think recently with Theresa Song winning the bronze medal, and that is just the beginning.
Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the latest stuff from this area.
Yeah. So again, I think this place is easily accessible for wheelchair-bound athletes. It can be a lot better, but I think once you drop off at the road, it's only just a stroll into the gate and right straight into the pool.
It's a slight warm-up into the
dryland training.
Yeah.
And the tree that's at the roundabout, Dola Qasim,
the
late Dola Qasim used to tell me that has been there forever. For as long as when he was a boy.
If you look at the palm trees here since the 50s, it's been there since the 50s when the pool was built.
We got to take a picture together there.
So again, there are many stories to tell, and I think what my wife mentioned earlier on, this is Mother Earth of Singapore sports. The birth of Singapore sports. So how can we preserve it?
Okay, from Mother Earth, Mother Hen analogies, what about the chicks, the two of you, Peng Siong and Theresa? How to turn this place around? Because to me, as a journalist, the only thing concrete I've seen is the bus stands that have been built here. what do you guys think? I mean, Peng Siong and Theresa, maybe starting with Peng Siong first. Do you think more ideas are possible? Tell us what do you think are more ideas that are possible for this area?
I feel like this area is actually really, really good the way it is. Like you may think that not a lot of people fully utilize it, but honestly, the fields are always busy on the weekends. I just saw a boxing match at the ring 2 weeks ago. Today morning, I bumped into Sarah Pang, a tennis player, just before I came here. Yeah, I did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's playing tennis there now, so it is really utilized. Yeah, and so it came as a shock that when I heard the news, because we thought I thought I was going to be swimming here for a really long time.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, it's not just about just meeting people only in your own sports. You guys get to meet people and you get to know more people, right?
It's an ecosystem of different sports here because it's also close together.
Yeah.
And I think over the years, like you see an increase in number of people around the area because the courts were
surfaced.
Resurfaced.
Yeah.
So when it was done, like you see more players, and then in the boxing ring, you see a lot of people. Like you see the boxers jogging around the pool, around the whole compound, and then you have the pool and the people in it. You know, I think there is that soul and that memory that's gonna be there, and there's only so much a museum can conserve and preserve. I guess and it's different when you actually preserve the space rather than the memory.
You guys, because you all meet different people from different sports here, is there that potential that yes, as you mature and get older, you all could be the next generation of the sports leaders, the sports fraternity leaders, and by getting to know each other from a young age, this is the start of those bonds, right? When you are actually running Singapore sports in the future.
Definitely, yeah.
Is that possible?
It is like we do have a lot of friends with the athletes from other sports, and I think it's important for this kind of integration where it's not just para-athletes know the para-athletes and then able-bodied athletes know able-bodied athletes. It's a good integration because at the end of the day, sports is sports, and it's good to know everybody to be able to eventually work together.
Ever since the news kicked in, and of course it's finally sunk in with Peng Siong now, tell me, you have some news for us with regards to this place? You have a plan?
I think some of the parents that have been coming to this place, with their kids, and they have felt attachment to the venue. And again, these are some of your promising young swimmers who would don the Singapore colours in the future. They want to get at least 1,000 signatories before going to see the relevant authorities and see what can we salvage in terms of saving some of the sporting heritage in Farrer Park. So that the future generation of Singaporeans can appreciate the history that has been made here.
So, can I ask you guys why you think, if you can sum up very briefly, why you think Farrer Park should be saved and why more Singaporeans should join this new petition and rallying call that Peng Siong has mentioned about? Yeah, Peng Siong, can we start with you? As
a Singaporean, I feel really strongly for this cause because we are a really young nation and we don't. But the country is so new. We're building something every other year. I don't want to see this piece of land, this piece with so much heritage, so much history, get taken away just for something newer, something that we already have all over the place. So I think it's important for Singapore to still hold on to this piece of history so that our future generations do know that this is all a part of a lot of athletes' stories, and it's an important piece of information to have. Yeah.
Theresa, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, building on that point, I believe that if we are pulling out the roots of memories every other year, then you're just gonna have a empty plot of land all the time. And I think it's really important to preserve more than just memory, because there's only so much that I think a museum can hold. You know, it will not hold enough, I think, and that's why I think it's important to preserve more than just the memory and preserve the space itself.
Peng Siong?
Well, I see this place as a fire that is burning with the spirit of Farrer Park and its sporting history. And if we're going to put out that fire, I think it will take many, many years or many generations to rebuild that fire. Because you have seen and read about the many achievements and the sporting successes that kind of sprouted from Farrer Park. And I don't think there are any other places in Singapore that has that kind of fire. And I think that is worth saving and for the future generation of Singaporeans. I mean, they can redevelop the place, but keep that sporting culture of Farrer Park. Save some part of it for, for us to remind our generations that, hey, this is where we have seen sporting excellence, and this is to inspire the future generation of Singaporeans.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, everyone. And that is a wrap for this episode of the ST Sports Podcast Special on Farrer Park. And thank you, Peng Siong, and thank you, Peng Siu. Thank you, Theresa. Now, if you feel that you believe in the fire that Farrer Park has to offer and can continue to offer Singapore, do write to us at podcast@sph.com.sg. Do check out our other podcast series on the Straits Times as well as the Business Times. And do try and tune in to the next Sports Podcast Special.